Hey everyone, y'all already know why I'm here. I am here to give you my take on Iyanla Fix My Life. This is season 6, episode 7. This is titled Sisters with Secrets. Okay, so a few episodes back, we dealt with the Mitchell brothers, okay? That was a 3-parter. That was a lot to handle. Okay, this week we're dealing with sisters, okay? We don't have a last name for them, but I have all their names, ages. I got the facts for y'all, okay? Now, really, I don't know which one was more difficult for Iyanla to deal with, the brothers or the sisters. I'm not sure. I'll let y'all be the judge of that. But before I even dig into it, if you're new to this channel and you're kind of okay with me within this first 45 to 50 seconds, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join the family. I'm here to give great commentary on the shows that you love, okay? And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. Okay, so now back to the main reason that we're here. So we have 4 women featured in this episode, okay? Each of them have a different experience of the same thing. So we're hearing each of their sides of the story. But the main person of interest is Jackie, okay? Jackie's sister is on the show. Her sister's name is LaTanya. So Jackie is 44. Her sister LaTanya is 47. Facts. I got facts, y'all, okay? Now, Jackie has 4 kids. Jackie is the main person of interest with 4 kids, but only 2 of them are featured on this week's episode, okay? And that would be Nikki and Brianna. Nikki is Jackie's oldest daughter, and Brianna is the younger daughter under Nikki, okay? Now, this is the issue. Jackie and LaTanya, adult sisters in their 40s, they don't have a relationship with one another. They literally cannot stand each other, okay? But they're sisters with secrets. Meanwhile, Jackie's 2 daughters are following in the same pattern as Jackie and her sister LaTanya. So Nikki and Brianna are also sisters, close in age, in their 20s, but they also don't have the greatest relationship. But we'll dig into maybe the reason as to why. Okay, so of course, Iyanla wants to get to the root of the problem. So the main person of interest here is Jackie, because Jackie is the mother. Okay, so Iyanla sits with Jackie. Jackie is the one that wrote her for help. Now, Jackie says that the problem is that there's a disconnect with her and her children. Okay, I stated earlier that she has 4 kids, but 3 of her kids she had by the age of 21, which is a lot. Okay, I have 2, and if I would have had them by 21, like, I would be a nutcase. But anyways, she started at 15 years old, okay? Also at 15 years old, I guess she gave birth at 16. She was a troubled teen. She didn't have the best behavior, so her mother kicked her out of the house. And so Jackie left, and in turn left her child as well, because she said that her mother wasn't going to allow for her to take her child with her. Okay, so when she left home at 16 without Nikki, Nikki was raised by her grandmother. Now, 2 years later, Jackie met Brianna's father. Brianna is her second daughter, okay? He then introduced her to prostitution while she worked inside of a massage parlor. Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about massage parlors because stuff be going down sometimes, and I just don't have time for that, okay? So anyways, let's get back on topic. So anyways, while she was going through this prostitution, while she was working in the massage parlor, she was also pregnant with Brianna. Okay, so officially she said she started like tricking off her body when she was 19 years old, okay? So she left home, had to grow up fast, apparently turned to a man for love that maybe she didn't have from her mother because maybe she felt rejected because she was kicked out. I'm not sure. All along, she's had anger problems when she stayed in her home, and when she was kicked out, her anger problems, I'm assuming, just accelerated at that point. But at this point, it's survival because, mind you, she had 3 kids, 2 that she was taking care of by the age of 21. Okay. And she actually told Iyanla that her kids know about her past, her background, her prostitution, and all of that. Iyanla asked her, how do they know? And she said, well, she really doesn't keep anything from her kids. They know everything about her. This is similar to Trina Braxton last week, but Iyanla once again was disappointed. She said that is inappropriate. There's a lot of things that your kids need to know, but few of them need to know that their mother was a woman of the night or day or whatever time of day you chose to do what you did. Okay. And I totally agree with that. So, next thing you know, we start getting a little bit more background information about Nikki's childhood. So, Iyanla asked her where was her father around during this time while she was kicked out, while she was living outside the house. Jackie says that her father was a paranoid schizophrenic. He stayed at home and he was basically a complete alcoholic like through her teenage years. Okay, so at this point, Jackie admitted that she was just like depressed and she was full of anger during that time in her life. So as a result, she lashes out, she cusses people out, she loses her temper. She just turns into a madman. But as we're watching her on screen, she's putting on the perfect smile for Iyanla. She is being cooperative, but she's there by herself. Her sister's not around and neither are her kids. So at this point, you can kind of tell that there's probably two sides to her personality, but at this point, she doesn't have a reason to show that side of her personality to Iyanla. Okay. So then Iyanla basically tells her, you know, you became a mother and a woman well before you were ready and equipped to do so. So this is what set up some of the bad behaviors in your life. Okay, so Iyanla told her she wants to start Jackie's healing journey by supporting her and not being an angry 15-year-old loudmouth girl. Okay, because as we can see as a reoccurring theme throughout Iyanla's sessions with people, a lot of people are. You may be 27 years old, but you may still be mentally and emotionally stuck at that traumatic childhood event that has affected you throughout the years from 15 to 27. So although Jackie is 44, she's still angry and acting out as a 15-year-old girl. So this is a reoccurring theme. Okay, but according to Iyanla's healing journey, that stops today. Okay, so at that point, Jackie starts crying. She's overwhelmed with emotions. I guess because it's just different when somebody is listening to you and they're hearing your heart and they can see you from a totally unbiased point of view and kind of tell you about yourself, but she wasn't telling her about herself in a way to attack her. She's saying like, I want to help you. So at that point, Iyanla could feel that she needed that motherly love and support that she probably yearned for, once she was kicked out of her house. So Iyanla then does what she always does and goes and puts her in her bosom and gives her that motherly hug. And everybody seems to benefit from that. Okay, so then Iyanla then goes a step further to tell Jackie that her sister Latanya had stated that she thinks that Jackie only wrote into the show or wanted to be on the show because she wants to be famous. At that point, Jackie's entire demeanor changed. She was visibly upset. So Iyanla asked, what is all of that about? So then Jackie says, well, at first I was open to the healing process, but now that I heard that she had said that about me, I don't want anything to do with her. I'm done with her. So this was the first time we saw a quick snap or change up in Jackie's personality. That right there let me know that she can get offended or she's extremely sensitive about small things. At that point, Iyanla is a stranger. Okay, I know that Iyanla has been talking to her and kind of gained her trust just a little bit, but Iyanla is a stranger. So if all it took was for a stranger on a television show to tell you something about your sister, when you have your sister's number and you could simply contact her and see if that information is even correct, that shows the weakness of their relationship as a sisterhood, and it shows how quickly Jackie can just turn on people and just snap. Okay, so keep that right there. So Nevertheless, Jackie promises Iyanla that she will stay and finish out the process. Okay, so now we get to LaTanya. Okay, LaTanya, she is a trip. Okay, LaTanya was not here for this process. She was not trying to take in anything. She's basically looking at Iyanla like, girl, I know you talked to my sister before you talked to me, but she has you fooled. Everything she said was a lie. You want me to feel sorry for her? I'm not going to feel sorry for her. I've dealt with her foolishness and her shenanigans and her anger problems and her drama my entire life. I don't even want to be here. So I thought that was it was telling, for sure, because your family knows you best, or they think they know you best. However, at the same time, LaTanya showed up to the show, so I felt as though she should have been more cooperative than she was. A part of me felt like LaTanya's intentions for going on the show was to embarrass her sister in a sense. Because if you felt no way about bettering your sister relationship, then you probably shouldn't have come on to the show. But anyways, so we have Tanya and Iyanla talking about their current relationship. Tanya says that she blocked Jackie from her phone because she doesn't like to deal with drama. Then Iyanla proceeds to read Jackie's letter out loud why she wrote in to Iyanla. And basically it was a heartfelt letter about how she wants a relationship with her kids. She doesn't want her kids to repeat the same pattern as her and her sister, and how she longs for a relationship with her sister. Well, while Iyanla is reading this letter, Tanya is literally like smirking and laughing. And she's like, wow, like this, as if every single word is a lie. Okay. At this point, throughout all the eye rolling and all of that, Iyanla stops reading the letter and she's like, what is all this about? And she's like, because she's lying, because that's not true. She's here for fame, blah, 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 blah. And she's literally talking over Iyanla the whole time. And Iyanla asked her, is this how you talk over your sister? Because this is probably why she feels like you don't care, her voice is not heard. And then she said, yeah, that's exactly how I talk to her, because I'm not about to sit here and listen to this foolishness. So at this point, you know, you can tell that she's not open to the process, okay? Tanya even goes a step further to say that Jackie is the devil. She's been acting out since she was 6 years old. She admits to cutting Jackie off while she's talking because she doesn't want to deal with her mess, yada, yada, yada. And then Iyanla wants Tanya to consider maybe she's mistaken. She even asked Tanya, you know, she's 16 years old. When Jackie was 16 years old, she had a baby. Did anybody teach her how to be a mother, how to care for a kid? And Tanya didn't have an answer. Like, she basically shook her head no. So then that's when Iyanla wanted Tanya to look at it from a different perspective. You know, maybe Jackie, you know, maybe she needed or required more help at that time that she didn't get. Maybe you should have a little bit of compassion for her. At this point, Tanya is not budging. Okay. But either way, Iyanla wants to continue on with the process and hopes that Tanya will come back on board. Okay, so next thing you know, we have a producer coming up to Iyanla and she's talking to Iyanla. Basically, it's an emergency at this point because Jackie is bothered by the statement that her sister said about her coming on the show for fame, and she has left the hotel. She refuses to continue filming, and she's just had a total meltdown. And she says she will not do this process if her sister is going to be a part of it. So, of course, Iyanla is basically trying to talk her off the cliff. Just like Tanya, Jackie is also talking over Iyanla. She won't allow her to speak. She's not respecting her in any type of way, but you can tell that Jackie is panicking at this point. Jackie even says, you know, everybody that my sister gets a hold of, like, she turns them against me. She just doesn't like me. She's not for me. And then, you know, Iyanla is like, well, you're the one that wrote to me. You're the one that asked for help. So regardless if you're going to show up or not, like, this process is going to continue. You not showing up is letting Tanya win. She was like, you need to do better. You need to be a woman. So then Jackie even says, well, I can't be a woman if Tanya is around. And I'm like, you two have literally turned into children. And Iyanla says it later on in the episode, but a lot of the times when I'm listening to Jackie and when I'm listening to Tanya, they have similarities. They both cut each other off. They both, at some point, Jackie becomes cold, but she's aggressive with it. Like, she just starts saying with whatever. She was trying to like air out all her sister's demons and all of that. Meanwhile, Tanya becomes cold because she just completely just shuts off all her emotions altogether, and she puts on this I don't care attitude. So they are similar in nature, and I feel like this would have been a perfect opportunity with Iyanla mediating for them to work out their sisterhood. Nevertheless, while she's on the phone with Iyanla, Jackie reveals that her sister raped her after she was raped, and she's coming on the show and she's going to air out all her dirty laundry. Okay, so at this point, we don't know if she's coming back, but Iyanla gets off the phone with her, very disappointed. Okay. So then we have day 2. So day 2, Iyanla decides to go and speak with LaTanya once again, woman to woman, just to see if she's still open to the process or not. Tanya continues to degrade or demean Jackie's character in every type of way. She basically says that Jackie isn't looking for help. Then Iyanla plays the recording of the rape allegations, and Tanya is totally emotionless at this point. She says, I don't know what she's talking about. Where did that come from? What is she even talking about? And then she's like, she's crazy. She's lying. She's a liar. So then Iyanla goes a step further to say, have you considered that maybe your sister has some mental issues going on? And she said, oh, for sure. She said, okay, so since you know that, then why can't you look at her in that light and have more compassion for her? Well, at this point, Tanya is like, look, I don't have anything to say to her. I'm just done with her. She's a liar. I don't want to move forward in this relationship. I would be okay if I never spoke to her again. So just like with any relationship, whether it's a friendship or it's a relationship, it takes 2 people. If only one person is willing to work through the situation, it's pointless at that point. So that's when Iyanla goes a step further to tell Tanya, you're not safe for your sister. I really suggest at this point in you guys' life, if you give each other some space and don't speak at this point in your lives, because you are verbally aggressive towards her. Like, you attack her. You're very cold, and that's not good for her. That brings that anger out of her even more so. But I do think it would be good for you guys to have a conversation about these allegations that she's spewing, because I don't think that they came from nowhere. Okay, so at that point, Tanya is like, okay, well, that's cool. I'm okay with never speaking to her again. So Tanya leaves the process. Now Iyanla decides to meet with Jackie. So I guess Jackie decided to show back up. They're outside in a peaceful, like, serene environment, and Jackie has shown up calmer than what she was on the phone the day before. So basically, Iyanla replayed Jackie's outburst from yesterday. They had a recording of it, and she replayed it. Of course, Jackie was familiar with that person that she was listening to in the recording. She says, you know what, like, that just happens. Like, that's that other side of me. I can't help it when it comes out, and I just go off, and I start screaming and yelling and cussing, and I can't stop myself if I wanted to. Okay, so then Iyanla goes a step further to get a handheld mirror. She writes the things on the mirror that Jackie said about her sister. This is the activity that Iyanla is doing with Jackie. So she passes her the mirror and tells her to look in the mirror. And her specific words were, Iyanla's words to Jackie were, a woman knows that every time she opens her mouth, she's talking about her values, herself, or what she believes. So then she has her look into the mirror and reflect on the things that she said about her sister, because it's a direct reflection of how she feels about herself. So that was a very telling activity for her, even all the way down to her talking about her sister's, like, big nasty nose or something like that. Iyanla's like, why would you say that to her? And at that point, Jackie is like, I don't know. I just wanted her to hurt. I wanted her to feel the way I feel, which directly related to what Iyanla said before, that every time a woman opens her mouth, she's talking about her values, herself, or what she believes. So a lot of times in our conversations where we're arguing with people and we're spewing out evil things, I think that's something for us to reflect back on. Why would I say something like this? And how does this reflect how I feel about myself? Okay. So I thought that was a great exercise for her to do. At that point, they get into the area of mental health, and Iyanla asks Jackie if she's ever been diagnosed, and Jackie admits that she went to seek help before for anxiety and depression. Of course, she left with medication, and she didn't want medication. She wanted, somebody to talk to her and talk her through this, just as she's doing with Iyanla. Now, when she said that, I know quite a lot of people who go and they seek help from doctors or psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, and sometimes they're just there for the counseling, but sometimes they do get medication. Now, I don't know if this was the vibe that the show was giving off, but I'm definitely not a type of person that would say medication is absolutely horrible. I've seen people that can move on with their lives and go to a counselor and work through their problems that way, naturally. But then I've seen a group of people who they take medication and it adds to the quality of their life. Of course, they don't want to be totally dependent on it. So eventually they wean themselves off of it once they're in a better state of mind. And then they would transition into counseling and things like that. However, I have seen situations where the medication was good for them at the time because they literally maybe had a hormonal imbalance, whatever the case. I just don't want people to think that you're like a crazy person if you take medicine, because sometimes it is necessary for certain people's situations. So, just had to throw that in there. But anyways, after she says that, Iyanla, of course, plays the rape recording. At that point, she asks Jackie, what is that about? Jackie tells her story about that, basically how her sister was a victim of that, and Jackie witnessed that, and how her sister then displayed those same behaviors that she received from others unwillingly to her as a child. Now, in every story, there's this person's side of the story, this person's side of the story, and somewhere in there is the truth. And I'm not saying that Jackie's story is not true. It could very well be true, and Tanya could just be trying to suppress those memories. However, I do think that that is a necessary conversation for them to have with one another, because that seems like that causes a huge rift in their relationship. And of course it would, but that's something that just cannot be swept under the rug, and it needs to be discussed in a safe space. Okay. Because apparently you can tell that Jackie, regardless of her anger issues, she has compassion for her sister Tanya. But Tanya needs to work on having compassion for Jackie. And if she understands why Jackie acts the way that she acts towards her based on their past experiences, perhaps they can move forward in their sisterhood. So I do hope that they're able to have that conversation, which I'll get to that later. Okay, so at this point, Jackie agreed that it is best for her and her sister to cease communication at this time. Now, we have the two daughters, Nikki and Brianna. Nikki is 28 and Brianna is 23. Nikki was raised by her grandmother, and her aunt Tanya helped out in raising her, but the prominent person that raised her was her grandmother. And then, of course, Brianna was raised by her mother, Jackie. So, the problem with this sisterhood is that these two are repeating the same pattern that they've seen from their mother or their aunt. When they both come into the room, literally, Brianna was raised by her mother, and she looks just like her mother, just a younger version. And we have Nikki, who you could tell there's tension in the room. She's a little angry. She acts more so like her aunt, that was probably more present in her life than her mother growing up. Okay, so Iyanla asked them the grand question, why are you here? So Nikki says she's there because she wants her mother to love her like she sees other mothers love their daughters. Okay, so she's longing for that mother-daughter relationship, just like a lot of these women that come in with the mother-daughter issues from previous episodes. Okay, I really think that's what most daughters want at the end of the day anyway. So then Iyanla asked her, like, what do you think the problem is? What do you think the problem is with your mother, and why there is such a struggle for you guys to have a healthy relationship? So then Nikki says that she thinks the problem is the fact that she has a relationship with her aunt and her mom doesn't like her aunt. Okay. So then Brianna is laughing. Okay. She finds what's being discussed at this point as comical. Brianna then speaks up and says, a lot of times her aunt Tanya has taken the credit for raising Nikki, and she didn't raise her. And by her taking the credit, that hurts their mother, Jackie, and that also causes a rift in their relationship. So basically, she said that to say that her mother isn't the only problem; the aunt is the problem as well. So at that point, Nikki admits, okay, yeah, maybe she has said that a few times, but she played a pivotal role in my life. But yes, my grandmother did raise me. So I think by Brianna saying that, maybe it helped Nikki to see it from a different point of view, a different light. Brianna answers Iyanla's question as to why she's there, and she simply says that she's there to support her mother. She's there to defend her mother. She feels like that's her job. She's cussed out people, messed up relationships simply in the act of defending her mother, because she feels like nobody understands her mother and nobody is there to step in for her, so she feels like she has to. And as a 23-year-old, that's probably extremely draining for her, especially because there are times that she admitted her mother has been wrong, but she'll still step in for her and defend her anyway. Even if she's wrong, she just makes it right because she has compassion for her mother. She feels for her. And it's not necessarily right what she's doing, but what was right in the situation was the fact that Brianna has compassion for her mother. And that is what Iyanla is trying to get Nikki to just grab a hold of as well, to have compassion for her mother and to hear her mother's side of the story. Okay, so Nikki at this point claims that her mother said that Nikki was taken from her. Although Nikki doesn't believe that it's true, simply because her aunt and her uncles have told her that her mother just decided at that time when she was 16 years old, she didn't want to take care of the kid at this point in her life. She wanted to party and she wanted to hang out, and that's why she doesn't have her daughter. Which Iyanla said, that's not fair, okay? One thing that you don't allow others to do is tell your mother's story for her. She is entitled to tell her own story. Whether it's good or bad, you take the story from her. So at this point, Nikki is defensive. She's like, yeah, okay, whatever, Iyanla. So Iyanla's like, what does whatever mean? And she says, well, Nikki gets defensive, like, well, you won't tell me nothing. You're not going to tell me nothing about my grandmother, okay? We're not about to start talking about my grandmother. Because I guess her grandmother played a role in that as well. At that point, Brianna steps in and says, well, if it wasn't for your grandmother taking you, we wouldn't even be here having this conversation. So that's when you can kind of see, like, oh, man, I hope they don't start arguing. That sister drift coming in. You literally see Nikki and Brianna acting as Jackie and Tanya, just much calmer at this point, but you can see that it can easily escalate. So that's when Iyanla steps in, and she basically tells her, like, Brianna, it's not your job to defend her, okay? I know you love your mother, but that's not your job, regardless of the fact that you think it is. You have to love her enough to support her, but you also have to hold her accountable so that she can stop repeating these bad behaviors. So Brianna, at first she was reluctant to it, but she understood. So at this point, we hear like Nikki kind of tell like her struggles and some of the reason why she's mad at her mom. So apparently, Nikki was going to be planning, like her aunt was going to be planning for her last baby shower. Well, for this baby shower, they were trying to wait until the very last minute, Nikki and her boyfriend, because in 7 years, she had 8 miscarriages. 8. And I just thought like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely devastating. And I wasn't sure of the result of the last miscarriage, but apparently that's the problem she has with her mother. Her mother contacted her and told her that she hopes her baby dies. So basically, she hopes she loses her baby. Now, mind you, Jackie just totally flips out and starts like attacking everybody and being aggressive. And that's when she turns cold and says whatever. I don't know if she meant that in that moment, but that specific statement, that stuck with Nikki, which that would have stuck with anybody, especially after 8 miscarriages. So sadly enough, when Nikki was 36 weeks pregnant, like, of course, at that point, she knew she was having a boy, and she lost that baby. So, of course, she's still like probably grieving that, or at the moment was still grieving that situation. And then for her mother to tell her that before that happened, it's easy. When things like death happen, you want to like point fingers or blame somebody because you just don't understand. And at that point, her mother was the first target simply based off of the comment that her mother made to her, which is totally unacceptable. And she shouldn't have done that. And that's why she should be held accountable for her actions. Okay. So at this point, Iyanla sees that the family has really just experienced total devastation from all angles. But she wants the sisters to basically rise above this pattern that they're repeating so they can move forward, so they don't find themselves 44 years old in the same position as their mom and their aunt. Okay, so then we have Iyanla come in with Jackie and her daughters. Jackie basically admits that, her mother released her of her motherly duties, and her mother wasn't the type of person she was going to argue with. So she basically let it go as well at that point because she had other kids to take care of. So she does go forward and ask for forgiveness from her daughters for her behavior and for making them a sounding board for her problems. She should not have put her stresses and her burdens and her problems, placed them on her 20-something-year-old kids. That's not fair to them. And she wants to have a healthier mother-daughter relationship, which I thought that was great. It showed that she's really trying to move forward in this healing process, at least with her daughters. Nikki then tells her mother that she reassures her mother that she loves her regardless of anything anybody says or who is around. She loves her unconditionally. And I thought that was great because her mother said the same thing to her. And that's something that they needed to hear. As much tension as there may have been in the room to begin with, once again, the glass appeared to be thick, but it was so thin that you could just touch it and it would crack. That's how bad they both want a relationship with each other. They both are just letting outside forces and emotions come in the middle of their relationship. So I'm glad they were able to move past that. Iyanla says, your mother is doing good. She's on a road to healing. However, you guys, I know you're younger than her, but as her daughters, you need to hold her accountable. And I'm expecting that from you. When she lashes out, when she just like loses her temper, when she starts cussing and going off, you tell her, like, is this who you want to be? Is this who you want to represent? Is this what you want to show the world of who you are? And hold her accountable. You're not being smart. I mean, you're not being smart, Alex, but you're trying to help her. So instead of defending her, that's being her crutch. You need to help her, okay? And don't just shun her and neglect her at the same time. Okay, so then Brianna at that point is tearful because she admits she has to let go of being her mother's bodyguard. And she basically wants her mother to get help so that she can learn to love herself the way that Brianna loves her mother. And I just thought that was the sweetest, most compassionate moment ever. Okay, so then Iyanla always ends the episode with a really good quote that basically sums up the episode. Her quote for this week was, "You can't judge a book by its cover, but you can judge the depths of their pain by their behavior." So I thought that was really, really good. A lot of people think that they're like covering up or people can't see the real them. But when they lash out and they have those moments of rage and anger, people can literally see straight through you. And people can see you're hurting just simply by your behavior alone. So I definitely encourage other people, whether it's something you're dealing with or a family member, and you see that anger and rage in someone, there is a deeper level of pain in there. And I think it's great for everyone to seek help. So, thought this was a great episode. Just to sum it up, of course, they give a description on how the family is doing at this point, which the description was completely positive. I guess off camera, when they were no longer filming, Tanya and Jackie did reach out to one another. They unblocked each other from the phones, and they had a conversation to clear the air. So hopefully they talked about their those their deeper problems that they had with each other, and they got to the root of their problem, and they're able to work past that. And as a result, of course, the daughters, since they repeat the patterns of their mother and their aunt, they now see that the mother and the aunt are bettering their relationship. So the daughters are doing the same with each other. So Nikki and Brianna are in a much better space than they've ever been. So I thought that was great. You guys, let me know your thoughts on the episode below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and check me out on my next video. Bye.